I drove one night home. Next day morning, I woke up blind. One of my friend's grandmother, she was blind, and she said just one line to me: "Drishti gayi hai to kya hua? Drishtikon to hai." I've just lost my sight, not my dignity. Dignity.
Tell me, how did you zero down on flying?
The dream to fly was there from childhood. And isn't that everybody's dream? It took me 7 years to find an instructor who would believe that, yes, a blind person can fly. My first solo flight was about 1.5 minutes.
Did you cry when you touched down? When you finished your first flight?
They're just happy tears. If you can dream about it, it's already happened. Even if tomorrow there is a surgery possible, I wouldn't want that surgery. Own it. It's going to remain. It's going to persist. Why spend energy trying to fight it? Learn to laugh at it.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day, spread my wings and fly away. And that's R. Kelly. Today's guest is a mad blind man who believed and eventually flew. And not just he flew, he has been helping thousands and thousands of people by being an ally. Welcome to the show, Divyanshu Ganatra.
He was diagnosed of glaucoma
Your left, you mean?
on my left
No,
and
you're
now
right.
See, that's how he gets you. Okay. So he was diagnosed of glaucoma. It's a condition in which you start losing your sight, and like Divyanshu told me, it's a lottery. Either you could live with this for whole of your life, or it could just make your visibility disappear at a very unknown speed altogether. So here this man, after being diagnosed at the age of 17, completely lost sight at age of 19. But rather than cursing the fate and being pitiful of that situation of being, he decides to do something that you would not think even a person with sight to be doing it. He decides to bloody fly. Okay. He decides to fly and he flies. And we'll come to this. But Divyanshu, let me ask you this question before we get to the mindset behind it and the journey that you had in your mind. How it really happened, and we'll just talk about it right in the beginning itself.
Yeah.
How did it happen? How rapidly it happened to you? And how did you deal with you in your head?
That's a long answer, but in short, I had specs in school, and I realized that I was having some trouble seeing the board. Not that I wanted to see the board, but being the last bencher that I was,
Okay.
I'm like, I can't see that chalk coming at me. So I went and met a old senior doctor, and for some random reason, intuition, he decided to check my eye pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an extremely simple test, probably one of the most simplest medical tests, which is like a whiff of air in your eye. Like, this is all that there is to this test.
Okay.
And that's how you get your pressure.
Okay.
And he decides to do the test, and my pressure was 6 times that of normal.
Your
So,
pressure was six
6
times
times.
of the normal. Okay.
So normally it's say 10 units.
Mhm.
Mine was about 50, 60 units.
Okay.
And this is very rare. Juvenile glaucoma is very, very rare and asymptomatic. So I had no symptoms other than the fact that I thought I had specs or my number had gone up.
Mm.
He checked my pressure with a rudimentary
Mm.
tool, and he said, no, you need to get this double checked. You need to go to a bigger hospital and get this double checked. And this is what I'm suspecting. I'm hoping it's not, but this is what I'm suspecting. And then, of course, we went through the whole rigmarole, and I had my eyes looked into, peeked at, poked at,
Okay.
peered into. And after long, multiple tests, this other senior gentleman doctor comes to me, and the only thing he said to me, the first thing and the only thing he said to me, you're going to go blind. I don't know when, you're sitting on a time bomb, but you're going to go blind.
And he told you this
Yes.
directly.
Yes. And my first thought in my mind was, dude,
ये क्या है?
think you're grown old. Because I could see perfectly well, right? So who's going to believe? Like, what is he talking about? I didn't, like, nothing was happening to me. So I'm like, what is he talking about? And I said, nah. But that was when the diagnosis was made. I was 17 then. Here's a funny anecdote that happened besides that in one of my meetings with him. This is with my father. And he says to me, he's very serious, doctor, very serious. And he, with a very straight face, says to me, do you do marijuana? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know where he's going with this. I can't confirm or deny. Because in my head, I'm like, shit, this is ganja. Iske wajah se to- So I'm just like stunned. Like, I don't know what to answer.
And
then he
your father
says-
must also be.
we just were quiet. Like, there's this dead silence. Now, which way do I go, right? And then he says, if you don't, I recommend you do.
Acha.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, man, this is so cool. So I'll come back to this. But yeah, so marijuana is the only known drug to manage eye pressure.
Oh.
And I'll come back to this a little later. So largely this is what happened. I was given the diagnosis. I went on with my life. Once in a while, of course, then you go through everything. You go to this hospital, you go send your reports abroad, you do everything. You go to a temple and you, all the things. You know how it is in India. Any random person you meet, they give you a prescription. And did all of that for 2 years. And also tried simulating blindness, because in my head somewhere it was still floating around, right? Because he had said you're going to go blind. So you also simulate and try and walk around with your eyes closed and see what it feels like to be blind.
And you're doing it proactively, like by yourself.
Yeah, once in a while I'm like, let's see what it might be like. And then it wasn't so bad, honestly, in terms of, because you have the choice to open your eyes and see. So it's nothing. The stimulation, when you walk around with your eyes blindfolded, never comes close to blindness. Never. So anyways, and then I lost peripheral sight. My pressure never really came down. We did surgery, did all kinds of medication and Diamox and sulfur drugs, but my pressure just remained high.
And how much of marijuana you were having that time?
I cannot confirm or deny. At that time, see? Now I can really tell you. But, and then the interesting thing, what happened was that even when you lose some bit of sight, even when you lose 50% of sight, it's still, the usable sight you have is still so good that you can fool yourself and others. But more importantly, you can fool yourself.
Yeah.
And I was going on with life. I drove one night home and parked my bike, and next day morning I woke up blind.
So you're driving a night prior.
Yes. And then one morning I just woke up blind.
So how was day one of having lost the sight fully?
The first thought that came to me was, damn, the old man was right.
Yeah.
And of course you don't believe. You think you're in a dream. You think you're still it's not yet day. You go back to sleep. You get up. It's still dark. And for me, it's dark, as in dark. There's no light perception at all.
Even now?
Absolutely, it's dark. When I say it like that, I make it sound very dark. But there's no light perception because my optic nerve snapped.
Snapped as it?
Completely snapped. So the eye pressure falls onto the optic nerve.
Okay.
And your optic nerve is what gets damaged.
Okay.
So if your optic nerve's gone, there's nothing going to the brain. So your front part of the eye is good. Your visual cortex is good. It's just the connection in between which is snapped. So it was hard. It was of course hard for the first couple of days. I still was in disbelief. Interestingly, I never told that. Like we never had to discuss it officially at home that this has happened.
Everybody was prepared.
You just kind of know it's happened. It's an unsaid thing. When you start talking to an empty chair, addressing it as dead, you know it's happened, and everybody around you knows it's happened, but nobody talks about it. And I was in my pity pool, of course. I was sad, I was depressed, angry, the same thing, like, why me? Poor me, and I could do with something else, or give me half my things back.
Yeah.
Everything.
Thoda de do.
I maybe something. And I also realized it's a perfect excuse to sit and do nothing. Everything is getting done for you. And everybody around you is saying, oh my God, this is so terrible. This is so unfortunate, so sad. Yeah. What can he do now? So for the longest of time, that's where I was. And then a friend of mine came to me and he's like, let's go for a walk. And I'm like, don't you know I'm blind? He's like, yes. I said, let's go for a walk. I'm like, damn, okay. So we go for a walk. And he's like, where do you put this? Like this, what has happened to you? Where do you put it on a number line between 1 to 10? Between not bad at all at 1 and awful, catastrophic, terrible at 10. Like the worst thing to happen. And I'm like, of course it's the worst thing to happen. It's catastrophic. It's number 10. He's like, is it possible that you not only woke up blind, but blind and deaf? And I'm like, yeah, possible. He's like, okay, so where would you put that on the number line? I'm like, 20, 30? He's like, what if you not just woke up blind, but blind, deaf, and mute, unable to talk?
Yeah.
I'm like, 50. Blind, deaf, mute, unable to walk. I'm like, 100.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, stop, just kill me, right? So I'm like, you might as well just kill me. And he's like, nah, I won't kill you because if you die, I won't know how you feel. So, and we both knew this could go on endlessly. And he's like, fair. Now, if you really think about it, all these things could have happened, but didn't happen. But what you started off by saying is the worst thing to happen. If you want to put all of these things back on a number line between 1 to 10, where does your original blindness go down to? And I'm like, damn, goes down to a 1.
Yeah?
Isn't it? It's just a minor, insignificant hassle. Nothing more, nothing less, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. All these things could have happened. Being blind and deaf would have been even worse, right?
Yes. Blind,
deaf, unable to talk, even worse. And could I say with certainty all of these things are not possible? Certainly they're possible. They just didn't happen to me. And what I thought to myself as the worst thing to happen to me, I suddenly realized that, hey, you know what? I still can walk, I can talk, I can play music, I can listen to music, I can read, I can write, I can climb mountains, I can climb trees, I can jump into lakes, I can drive.
Yeah.
People won't let me drive, but that's their problem. And that shifted my perspective a lot. My situations remained the same over the decades. Nothing changed. My blindness still remains.
Mm.
But that one thing entirely changed my perspective on things. And then one of my friend's grandmother, 90-year-old grandmother, she was blind.
Mm.
And she said just one line to me. She's like, "Drishti gayi hai to kya hua? Drishtikon to hai."
Mm.
And that stayed with me. And that was the beginning of me saying to myself that, okay, so this has happened.
Mm.
How does one get back on their feet? I want to be able to be back on my feet. I want my freedom back. I want my independence back. What do blind people do?
Mm.
Where are these blind people? Because I didn't know any.
Mm.
I just didn't know anybody. So I'm like, I got to find out where they are. I got to find out what they do. So I went into, and because I didn't know anybody, I thought I'll go and check myself into rehab.
Mm. Mm.
And I went and checked myself into a very, very prestigious rehab for the blind. Turned out to be the most awful experience of my life because it was crappy, it was smelly, it was packed with hundreds of blind people who God Lord knows where they were coming from. And they were like, I was like, wow, man, you guys are everywhere. I thought I was one in a million, and now there's just truckloads of you guys, man. Like coming out of the woodworks. Yeah, that felt a little like I'm not. This is not just me. and then they served us food, and it was terrible the way they were serving us and the way they were treating us. And I said to myself and to them that, hey, you know what? I've just lost my sight, not my dignity.
Mm.
This is no way. This is no way to treat another human being.
Mm. Mm.
And of course, many of the others there were from disadvantaged backgrounds and hence didn't even have a voice.
Mm.
But for me, I was 19, fresh behind my ears. So I could say all of these things.
Mm. Mm.
And then I went in for counseling, and we all know what counseling in India means.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will give you advice.
Mm.
We don't give a damn about you. So here I am surrounded by some senior folk, and I said to them, what can a blind person do? I'm willing to get educated and want to be back on my feet. And they're like, of course, blind people can be independent and you can be economically independent. I'm like, wow, okay, so tell me how. And they're like, oh, we'll teach you to make chalk and cane furniture.
Those typical, how should I say, bias
Yeah,
job profiles for a visually disabled.
correct. And mind you, this is not some fancy garden cane variety furniture. This is the old government cane chairs that you used to get. If you're 500 years old like me, you would know. Not otherwise. And again, I'm like, say it's an honest job. It's an honest day's job. Nothing wrong with an honest day's job. But it just didn't make economic sense. I'm like, nobody's going to be using chalk. It's got no future. You make 1,000 pieces, you make $2 profit. What's the point? I can't afford a cup of tea with that. There's got to be better.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that really, where I can, if I work hard, I can economically thrive. And their problem was that I'm a good Jew by blood, so business is in my DNA, and I'm making these quick go-to-market projections in my head. I'm like, ये नहीं चलेगा. कुछ और दिखाओ.
दिव्यांशु तो मतलब शार्क टैंक के जजेस टेबल पे होना चाहिए.
And they said, yeah, we have a better course for you. I'm like, yeah, tell me, I'm listening. And then I will teach you how to become a telephone operator.
क्या बात है.
6 months program. I'm like, oh. You take 6 months to teach me how to dial a number and say hello? Really? and those were the options. You know, sadly, that still is the attitude. That still is what is offered. Only we moved from making chalk to agarbattis now and candles.
Packaging.
We haven't moved much further down that line. We're just a little one more step up.
Yeah.
And then I said that see, back in the 90s, what was really hot? The hottest career option was IT, right?
Yeah.
So I asked them, why not computers? Everybody's talking about it. Why can't I learn computers? And they said to me, well, you can't see the screen. How are you going to learn computers?
Yeah.
But it's just a technical problem, right? How does it logically follow that because I can't see the screen, I can't learn? That's a technical problem. We can solve for it. And they're like, you can't do this. And I'm like, you can't decide for me what I can or cannot do.
Yeah.
And that was the end of my rehab. 1 hour. I was out of there. Now you know, I still need rehab, by the way. But yeah, that is it. I never went back to rehab.
So all this happened within how much of a span after?
A year and a half. Yeah, at best.
Just about when you were just about 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. By 20, I'd moved out of my house and living by myself. Because the way I was brought up and the way I am as a person, it's very nice actually when you have such a good excuse. Now that I think about it, I had such a great excuse.
Yeah.
Sit at home, do nothing. Snap, get me water. And they would give me water and they'd give me food and they'd give me everything. And I'm like, and then you choose.
Aaj menu mein kya hai?
And then you choose discomfort, and you choose to live by yourself, and then the world says to your parents, "What's wrong with him? Is there some problem? You guys don't get along or what? How can you let him live by himself? He's gone blind. What kind of parents are you?"
Yeah.
So more than me, they had to go through that whole.
That would have been my question. That when this happened, before that, why did you think of moving out of your ghar?
Because it was very comfortable, but that's where I would have stayed. And I wouldn't have been able to get back on my feet and claw back my independence and freedom if I'd said good intention, Nishant. Extremely good intention parents, very supportive. But this is what they knew, right? That if their son's just gone blind, what can they do? They will want to support. They'll want to help and do things. And everybody around wants to do things because it's good intention. But was that really helping me? End of the day, that wasn't really helping me. I had to figure it out for myself. That was very important to me. That even if I failed, I had to figure it out for myself. And it was hard. It was hard on my family. It was hard on my parents to let go of me, to go out there and live independently.
And you have siblings?
Yes. I have an elder sister. So I don't know as a parent how hard it must have been on them.
Yeah.
But looking back, probably that was the best thing that happened to me.
They would have certainly not allowed you to fly a paraglider.
Oh no! They're the kind of that's the thing. I've got. I'm super blessed. I'm super blessed. So that's the one thing they taught me ever since I was a child. That they never came in my way. And that's the best form of leadership they taught me. That you just trust. They just trusted me. They know I would not make stupid decisions. that I'll be responsible, that I'll think through my decisions, but I'll do it if I really want to, if I really love it, I will do it, and they will not come in the way. Even if that means extremely hard decisions as parents, that they will not come in the way. And to me, that's the most beautiful parenting ever. Most beautiful parenting. And I cannot tell you how blessed I am to have that from my parents, that they never questioned my decisions.
This is rare. This is
Yeah.
very rare,
Yeah.
especially what the situation was. Parents get into a far more protective
Correct.
switch on, and it just goes the other way around.
It's natural. So yeah. At 20, I was living by myself, and all of this happened in a span of, say, 2 years.
2 years is quite quick to happen, especially at this age when you are just learning life, knowing more things. I have one question, if I may ask.
Yeah, sure.
In those 2 years of knowing a time bomb, what is it that you would have thought of seeing the most so that you could retain that photo memory always in your head? What is it that आँखों में संभालूं?
I cannot answer that, man.
बता दे यार, बता
You
दे.
may have young people.
So our podcast is seen by 25 plus. 85% of audience is there. So जो मन में है बोलो.
So I grown up on Doordarshan, but by the time I was 17, Star and all of these things had just started coming out.
Yeah.
Cable TV had just come out.
Yes.
So now you can.
FTV also started the same time. है ना?
Baywatch came on.
Baywatch came on.
So now you know.
Yes. Oh wow.
Yeah, you remember all of those things.
I remember all of this because I have grown up only on DD. And,
Correct.
yeah, only DD. And when I was doing my engineering, so I used to study in this college in place called Murthal. The dhabas were more mashhoor than the college. And we would go to my day scholar friends in Sonipat so much to watch FTV in the night.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I still have those photo memories like how.
Half the time I think I lost my eyeballs to trying to stick my nose to the television screen.
My parents would so when later on when we had cable TV at my place, okay,
Right.
they will wake up the channel being changed कि रात को तो यार ये 1 और 8 पे था DD और DD उस पे था दूरदर्शन पे था, ये दूसरे वाले पे मूव रात को कौन कर जाता है.
I think those are the best days because sometimes now that I see the young generation and it's so easily accessible.
अरे पूछो.
But I think we valued it more. There were all kinds of things we had to do to access it. And that's what made it so much more precious.
Yeah.
Now it has no meaning, but it's just abundantly available everywhere at a click of a button. But for us, it was way more precious, more valuable.
Yeah.
I'm from the day when we used to, when internet just came in and literally just one picture to download would mean a couple of hours.
Oh yes.
And then it would just go off. Fun days.
So, but Divyanshu, just tell me one thing. I'm trying to get very close to that time of your life when you thought, boss, अब जो हो गया सो हो गया, ठीक है, अब अपने को कुछ करने का है, ठीक. And then you would have this longer list to shortlist कि हम ये कर सकता हूँ, मैं वो कर सकता हूँ, ये कर सकता हूँ, है ना. अब tell me, how did you zero down on flying of all the possible things in your life to have that thrill? Why flying?
So flying happened much later.
Acha.
Much later. It happened 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But the dream to fly was there from childhood. And isn't that everybody's dream?
Yes.
Everybody dreams of flying. Everybody dreams of being able to be up there in the big blue. Half the children want to be pilots or astronauts. And then adults around them tell them, Mars dekhe hai kya? Padhai karo, pilot banega. Right? So that dream was always there. It was always there. And I always loved the outdoors. I hated school. In fact, I hated it to the point where I failed kindergarten.
Is it?
Yes.
ये मुझे लगा पढ़ा लिखा समझदार आदमी है यार ये गलत आदमी का
मैं
इंटरव्यू
भी
ले
वही
रहा हूँ
बोला उनको कि आप समझदार लगते हो लेकिन वो बोले नहीं हम आपको फेल करेंगे अभी ये मैं भूल जाता actually because it's such a long time back, right? But then I had amazing friends who went to the next class and were with me for the next 14 years.
Wow.
So they wouldn't let me forget. Kid, you shut up. You failed kindergarten. You have no right to speak. And I went to an intensely academic school.
Yeah.
So I failed every subsequent year.
Very proud of you.
That's the best thing that happened to me because they taught me how to fail. They set me up to succeed by teaching me how to fail. And I genuinely believe the large part of who I am is because I've learned to take failure like it's no big deal. I believe everybody needs to experience that because you learn so much more through that.
Yeah.
And I love the outdoors. I love the world outside the window. I loved climbing mountains. I loved cycling. I loved jumping into lakes and just the outdoors. I loved
Baywatch.
it. Yeah, part of that. Yeah, that happened later. But like when I was 16, I traveled almost a large part of this country just by myself. Just after my board exam, 16, here I am, this scrawny guy with a big bag on his back and traveling the country by himself and hitchhiking and going with a heart where, like I realized that the best places are not on the map. So I soon ditched the map and just followed my heart and found some magnificent places which are not on the map. And traveled without reservation and shared a berth with some stranger on a night journey. Now when I look back, I'm like, what was I thinking?
I've done this, by the way. The first time when I saw you, this was I think in Kerala. We met 4 in the morning. The next day I came to escort you to the speaking assignment that we had for the client. And I saw you were so well versed with all the corner edges, buttons, keys and all of it. And I was like, boss, ये आदमी acting कर रहा है, ठीक है ना? ये fraud है, ठीक है? तो somewhere I had this, should I say hope or surety that if I'll ask you about a prank you did, you would have pranked somebody about your blindness. That boss तुझे लगता था मैं हूँ but मैं हूँ नहीं. But you would have played अंधाधुंध on someone.
Well,
वो बताओ.
So that's been a running thing ever since college, that half the people bet I can see.
हाँ,
Half
वो
the
सुनना है,
people-
वही
हाँ,
सुनना
so
है.
half the people bet, half the people say नहीं इसको कुछ दिखता है, इसको नहीं दिखता है. It's all fun. It's all fun. Some people want to change in front of me because she's completely blind, and while they're changing, I'm like, interesting choice of underwear. So it's fun. It's that happens a lot to me. People don't quite believe because they're like, oh, but you don't look blind. I'm like, yeah, that's because I forgot my makeup.
No, if I tell you, so we clicked selfie 2-3 times, okay? And the way I have seen you looking into the lens is so much better than a person with sight would do. And then I look at that photo, say, "Ye aadmi pakka fraud hai." I thought I'll ask you this one day.
That probably I am. I don't know. But all of these things, you don't look blind. Or some people like, I often travel by myself. So I'm eating by myself in a restaurant. And then there's this couple sitting on the other table. I know they're watching me. I know they're talking about me. They think I can't hear.
पूरा machine बंद हो रखा है.
Then they like finally make up the courage and come to me. They're like, excuse me, sir. We've been watching you for some time now. I'm like, yes, I know. So what do you? They're like, oh, it's so inspiring. we've been seeing you've been eating all by yourself, and not one morsel, not one time it went somewhere else, always in your mouth. I'm
क्या
like,
target है?
I'm like, and they're like so inspiring. I'm like, hey,
सच में.
I'm like, wait a minute. How do you wash your bum? You look at yourself in the mirror or what? I'm like, what? You sit in front of the mirror when you eat? It goes in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
So what's the big deal? But for them, it's like, oh my God, he's eating by himself. And yeah, those are like you just like surprise them with it. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how you wash your bum.
But also, I think, Divyanshu, people would also be little, I don't know, they may not be very sure of how to compliment you. Does that happen? Like they are little guarded, अरे मैं ये बोल दूंगा तो उसको शायद ये लगेगा, ये बोलूंगा तो उसको अच्छा लगेगा. Does that happen?
People are awkward and guarded and think twice, even about approaching or even about talking, or
Yeah.
because there is that awkwardness.
Yeah.
What to say, how to say,
How to say.
what if he feels bad?
Yeah.
Or some people say, hey, Divyanshu, see you later.
Hmm.
And next 2 days, they're like at home, like, oh my God, I said to Divyanshu, I will see you later, but he's blind. He must have felt so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so then that's the awkwardness that comes out of not knowing, not being familiar.
Hmm.
That's what it is. It's just that.
Yeah. But also, there is this embarrassment or consciousness or reluctance. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but like we were discussing before we got onto the recording, people with visual, visibility. What should I say?
Blind. People
Blindness?
blind, yeah.
Okay.
Visually impaired or blind.
Visually impaired would not carry a cane stick.
Yeah.
Correct? People who cannot hear properly would be very reluctant putting the hearing aid. How does that work, man? Why are they so conscious about it?
Because there's still shame and stigma associated with this disability. There's a huge amount of shame and stigma. And as a society, you don't see people with disability. A lot of them are kept indoors. There's a lot of pity that comes your way. There's a lot of opportunities that get missed out. So even 80% of the people I know who are blind don't use a cane because they're like, oh my God, if I, they will stare at me, or they're just embarrassed, or they feel that, oh, but then I won't get a date.
80%. Yeah.
I mean, that's a rough number, but a very high percentage, very, very, very high percentage don't use a cane, or they don't use a hearing aid simply because, but they're embarrassed. And for me, my cane is like my, what do you say? It's my fashion accessory. I love to show it around. And I never go out anywhere without my cane because I'm like, I flaunt it. What's there to be ashamed of? But many people are not as comfortable. There is that sense of acceptance issues. And I can relate to that because when I went blind, if it wasn't for my father, I wouldn't be as comfortable with my cane. Yeah. I've dropped so many canes in the drain. I have broken them. I've lost them. But every single time I lost a cane, my dad would get another one without saying anything. He would just hand me another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And I must have gone through like 1,000 canes like that. But he just didn't give up. I'm like, okay, damn it.
Cane के price बढ़
I
गए
get
इस
the
चक्कर
point.
में.
I get the point. That you have an unlimited supply of this damn cane.
You would have bought it like in bulk, correct?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. So, and he would say nothing. He would just hand it to me. And somewhere I became very comfortable, but I see people are not because, and I don't blame them. It's just how we are as a society.
Yeah.
That think about it, Nishant. That I remember this. There was a talk I'd gone to when I shared my story, blah blah, and there was this whole bunch in the audience who said, "Oh, you're so inspiring, such a hero, so wonderful. Put me on the pedestal." I said, "Wonderful," and I was in a mood that day, so I said, like I am always am. I'm like, ridiculous. So I said, great. So I'm the best man on this planet Earth, right? They're like, oh, yes, you're such a hero, gifted. So I said, fair enough. How many of you here have daughters? And quite a few hands went up. And I said, great. And how many of you will marry their daughter to me? Not a single hand went up. That says everything. That you'll marry your daughter off to the jerk beside me. Right? But that's the state of affairs. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Mic
this
drop.
is mic drop. Yes. These are your sweet revenge.
I'm like hypocrites. But behind all of this, these are realities. These are realities.
So on that one, you spoke about marriage, okay?
No, not marriage. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Don't
the
go
love
so
life.
far.
Just the love life. Just the love life. Just the love life.
Let us
No,
first start.
I'm talking about the way you killed that moment for the people who came and complimented. I'm talking about just that. Okay.
Correct.
Now, so when I initially saw your photograph, there was this profile, and I was telling my colleague Ritesh, "यार ये आदमी तो ऋतिक रोशन जैसा लगता है, ठीक है?" And there was always this curiosity in my mind that how this man must be, or what kind of a love life this man must be having. तो थोड़ा उसके बारे में बताओ. How it has been for you?
Lots of love in my life.
Of
for
course,
sure.
of course.
Lots of love. But when it comes to romantic partners,
Yes.
right? It's not easy. One, also, I don't blame the women because I'm nuts. So it has probably nothing to do with my blindness. I can't say with certainty that I like to believe it's my blindness. But probably not. I'm just a nutty guy. I'm just a misfit, very unconventional. So it's and I live life with crazy intensity. I do a lot of stuff. So it's not easy. I don't blame them.
On the edge.
Yeah, I mean, completely on the edge. I'm a dreamer. I want to do a lot more. Also to be able to contribute back to solve wicked problems, and so. But long story short, quite a drought. So, and also somewhere I spend a whole bunch of my time, like probably 99% of my time, professionally engaging with people. And I have a clear rule that I don't engage. I don't even think about. It's like a switch. That if I'm engaging with somebody professionally, that switch never comes on, no matter what. Because the kind of work we do, the kind of places I'm at, people are vulnerable, people share, and I'm not going to cross the line. Never. Never in my life will I ever cross that line. So there goes a whole bunch of my potential, so to speak. And the 1% of my time I spend with friends who are friends like for 25 years and we're like, you're going to change my diapers when I grow old. So
they're busy changing your furniture.
And that's a promise we have that, you know what, I don't think there's going to be anybody who's going to be changing my diapers when I'm 80. So that kind of thick friends. So,
how often you drink? I'm not asking whether you drink or not. How often you drink?
When I'm with close friends.
And what happens in the night?
My rule is very simple. Because I live by myself.
Yes.
And I've been living for so many years. The rule I made was never to drink alone.
I was about to ask this.
Never. Not even. I've not had a single beer by myself ever.
Yeah.
That's that's like going down the rabbit hole. It's a slippery slope. And never to learn how to roll a joint. So I'm safe like that. And then when friends are around, then yes, I like a drink or two. I love my gummies and my cookies and so fun time.
Would you been like sloshed like?
I've been there when I was
इधर-उधर गिर
young.
गया, उल्टियाँ मारी, ऐसा हुआ है?
Once, I remember. But
I'm so
and I
proud
was
of
in
you,
IIT Mudai, and I told my friends that tonight you're going to take care of me, assholes.
So Divyanshu, you have many interesting persona around you. You're a speaker. You are an amazing ally. You've been involved with learning and development, on advocacy around different label hiring, etc., etc. If somebody had to understand you in lesser words, how would you want people to know of you?
Now that's a tough one. Who am I?
Yes.
That's a very tough one because all these are things I do. It doesn't make me. The things I do because I believe and I'm passionate about it. Whether it is the community work that I do, or whether it is as a speaker or as a technologist. But these are things you do, and I'm not married to them. If there's a better way of doing the same thing or solving a problem tomorrow, I'll do that. Because otherwise, you're so married to your idea that that's a sure shot way to fail. But who am I? That's a hard one. I'm somebody who is a dreamer. I'm somebody who loves to solve wicked problems. I'm somebody who thrives on challenge. I'm somebody who wants more empathy and compassion in this world. I think the world is very polarized, and I firmly believe that this world needs more empathy and compassion, and to do my bit towards it. That's what we can do. That even if you convince me that the world's going to hell tomorrow, I'll still plant that tree.
Nice. And Divyanshu, in this journey, you met so many interesting people. You're traveling so often. You met so many celebrities. Any moment that you'd like to share? Like we've seen on social media, you being with Amitabh Bachchan and all the other big names. Anything that really touched you? It could be comical incident. Okay, and I'm assuming it will be one of those insights that you will share. But is there something that you'd like to share with us?
I've been I've been very fortunate that I've gotten to be friends with some amazing people. And for me, what makes them amazing is that they're amazing at their work. That's what attracts me to them. I'm not star-studded, or I never get starry-eyed about these big names and the celebrities. No, I love their work. That's what draws me to them. And somehow we just end up becoming friends, and we get to know that same shit. They eat the same thing. They eat the same shit. It's a hard life for them. It's not easy. What you see on media and TV and social media, it's not the same. They're the same things.
And the journey just begun. I think there are some amazing things that we can always expect coming from Ye. Like you said, you love solving wicked problems. So I am quite sure there will be so much more.
There are always these problems. The problems all around. Trust me, Nishant. If you look around, there's so many things we can all do to solve, and we can contribute to solving them. And don't think that but I'm just alone. I'm just one by myself. I'm just one person, and I have this corporate job. I don't have the time. Or what will happen if just me alone doing it? Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You'll surprise yourself.
Yeah. On that, Divyanshu, talking about being an ally, let's use this time to help me and all our viewers here. How can people offer their time or anything that you suggest to be an ally?
So, uh, so one of the problems, one of the big challenges that I'm trying to solve for my community, right? Because, of course, I identify with this community. I've been here in this. I lived life, lived experiences, and I realized that there are 200 million people with disability in this country, 1.8 billion people around the world, and the biggest challenge for this community is that of invisibility. The biggest challenge is that of stigma and the handicaps don't necessarily come from the disability per se. So just to give an example, me being blind is just a medical condition. But not having accessible books, not having accessible software, that my STEM education was stopped in 7th grade, that we don't have inclusive schools, that we don't have ramps for wheelchairs, that we don't have accessible infrastructure for people in wheelchairs, and a whole myriad of things, that we don't have equal opportunities, have nothing and nothing at all to do with my blindness. These are handicaps created by the world, social. This is a social construct. And all of us, we are responsible, you, me, all of us are responsible for the way we create the world. Now the question is, do we create the world because we are evil? No. We don't create the way the world is the way it is because we're evil and we have something against this community. We just don't know. We've never met somebody with a disability. We've never seen them in schools. We've never met them in cinema houses, in restaurants, in public spaces, in workspaces. You've just never gotten to know anybody.
Yeah.
And because of that, it creates a lot of bias, stereotypes. The media doesn't do such a great job.
Yeah.
And there are lots of misconceptions around disability. If you want to change the social construct, if you want to change the way the world is, you can't do that through PPTs. PPTs never change the world. If PPTs could change the world, we have a very different world. PPTs are great when it comes to cognition and information, but not for beliefs and mindsets. To change beliefs and mindsets, there's no better way than to play. Because if you go back, as children, we played together, right? And we never saw differences. It didn't matter if you're a boy, girl, thin, fat, Hindu, Muslim. That didn't matter. You just played together, you fought, and you got back together and played. And that is what play offers. It offers a safe place. It unites people. It inspires people. It brings hope. And it is the only language that people understand. And it has power to end discrimination. So the belief is that you get people with and without disability to play together. To go on a mountain, to climb a mountain, to go on a hike, to cycle together, to scuba dive, to run together. And of course, there are benefits for both these communities, right? One, you bring people with disability in the mainstream. You create equal opportunities. You help their self-esteem and self-confidence because they've been told they can't do any of this. And now you're enabling them to do this. There is more visibility as a result. And on the other hand, for the mainstream community, there are CEOs and MDs and HRs and people like yourselves who, when you play, it shifts your perspective. And you're like, hey, you're no different. You're a PhD and you're an MA or you're a software engineer or you've done all of this, and how do you do it? And you know what? I'm a CEO of a 50,000 employee company. We don't have a single person with disability. Why don't we hire? And they go to the HR and they're like, why don't we look at these people as talent? And why don't we look at this community as customers? Why don't we look at having preferred vendor partners from this?
Yeah.
And that's what starts happening. That when you look at me as a customer, you start designing products for me. So just to give you a quick example, that there are two food delivery apps. One didn't bother. The other said, hey, we didn't know. And they designed we didn't know that blind people could use a phone and use these apps, and if this app is accessible on voiceover or talkback, then people who are blind can order
Yeah.
on the app. And they made the app completely accessible. And they didn't do it out of charity. They got 40 million blind customers. India is the
Wow.
blind capital of the world.
40 million.
40 million blind people in the country. And before they made it accessible, I had to call up a friend, and then they used to order food for me, and then it used to get embarrassing because they wouldn't take money, and then I used to go hungry sometimes because I wouldn't. And now I don't need to. I'm probably the best customer.
Wow.
And there's no need for charity, right? And the same app that you use, that's the same app I use. No different, just that it's accessible. But now, by doing that one bit, you got 40 million people into the mainstream. Because I get to access the same thing that you do. And this all happened just through play. Just through play. And there are millions of such examples I can give you.
And what could be some of those volunteering opportunities that you think a corporate or a small or mid-sized company could look at?
So, like, for example, we are partners with ProCam, which is who conduct the biggest marathons this side of the world.
I worked with ProCam.
You did?
I was with Standard Chartered Bank.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I was working on the brand side, and ProCam was running the whole project.
Absolutely.
So I'm familiar with the project.
And look at now how big it has become.
It is,
the Tata Mumbai Marathon is one of the biggest in the country. So
you remember Seeing is Believing? We used to have Ally running and all. So I was part of the team that organized Seeing is Believing.
Oh, wow.
The Ally running with the long distance.
Amazing. So we have the inclusion run as part of Tata Mumbai Marathon, as part of TCS, as part of Vedanta, as part of TSK in Calcutta, in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore.
Oh, it's everywhere, all events now?
All four places. We are their inclusion partner. And we have the CXO, the Senior Leadership Run. And we invite senior leaders to come and run as allies in the 10-kilometer category or the 21-kilometer category.
Okay.
And a lot of these leaders have never experienced life alongside a runner with disability or a person with disability. And it completely changes their perspective.
Yeah.
And they go back and they become role models for inclusion within their organizations, because this is how you demonstrate inclusion. This is how you demonstrate what it means to be an ally.
Yeah.
And they go back with these stories within their companies. So you can do that, or you're a cyclist, you can do that. You want to come and hike on a small hike, we can do that. Lots. This is something that we can all. There are 100 different ways in which you can build cultures of inclusion.
Interesting.
And the focus is more on businesses, because we believe when businesses run with it, the tipping point will come much sooner.
Yeah.
There's no need for charity, and charity is dead. Charity is long dead. It never helped anybody.
Yeah.
There's a absolute business case.
But do you think job reservations for differently abled people could have helped?
So reservations is an interesting topic, and I believe, at least for a while, yes.
Yeah.
And where I come from is from a space of equity.
Yes.
That reservations help because now it makes things a little more equitable, because look at the conditions of education for the centuries, right? We've made segregated schools. They're not special. Please do not call them special. They're segregated. We have been funding segregation, and we all know what segregation does to societies.
Yeah.
If we don't know, read up and please wake up. So the quality of education has been so poor. They have been disadvantaged economically. So unless there is some amount of equity built into the system right now, until we strengthen these things, until we make it a fair level playing field, we need some bit of reservation or some bit of leeway. And we need to invest more in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Only then, in the next 10 years, will we have a robust pipeline on the supply side, when we can say that, hey, now we've invested enough over the next 10, 20, 25 years to be able to say we can reduce reservation now. Because now there is a fair playing field we've done from the start.
Yeah.
So, and we need to invest more on inclusion, not on diversity. See, diversity in India is a given.
मतलब ये इससे ज़्यादा क्या diversity होगी?
Huh, in India, you take any random 10 people and 100 people and there's 100 different diversities.
Yeah.
So, the focus in India needs to be more on building cultures of inclusion, and we need to invest more in that. That is something that is long term. It's not something that can yield results overnight. Diversity yields results because you can count and measure. And they look very nice on reports at the end of the year. We have 20% women employees. But nobody's asking the question, how do those 20% feel? Do they feel valued? Do they feel belonged? Do they feel respected? Do they feel equal? Is there equal pay? Is there equal opportunity? Nobody's asking these questions. You're just saying 20% women.
Yeah.
2% people with disability. So we need to ask ourselves, we need to come from the other end of inclusion.
What do you mean by the other end of inclusion?
Other end, which is, so in India it's D&I. We need to come from the spectrum of IND.
Okay.
So we need to be I first. Spend more. Even if you have less diversity in the beginning, that's okay. But over time, when you build those cultures, then diversity is a given. It'll happen because now it's a culture. And it'll be culture driven.
Yeah.
It'll become part of the DNA. And then it won't be just about numbers. You will attract diversity by itself.
It'll become mainstream.
It'll become mainstream.
Yeah.
It'll be like, yeah, there's no big deal. Yeah, we do this. It's part of business. What's the big deal?
Yeah. You're right. You know, around 10 years ago, we were working on a project for TCS, and they have this initiative by name ACTC.
Right.
And I hope
correct.
they continue
Yes,
to do so.
Yes, they do.
They still have?
Yes.
And I happened to work on the film that was, I think, one of the 10th anniversary of Maitri. That. And in that film, we went to the campus. We saw how the program is run. And interestingly, they have an exam through which they select people, they train them, they certify them, and then make them far more better employable. What we tried addressing through that film was to reach out, to make a collateral that can be shared with the HR fraternity, especially the leadership. Mainly addressing the bias that they have of certain job roles only for people without sight. You know, because there are these very limited, only admin-led, very poor on intellect or other skill-based. Yeah, and I'm talking about 10 years ago.
It's still the same.
It's still the same?
Look at the role jobs. This whole process of job role mapping is inherently discriminatory. Inherently. Because who is doing the job role mapping? An able-bodied person. So you're sitting there deciding, no, this only this person can do. Isn't that ableism at its best?
Yeah.
This is like a bunch of men sitting in a room deciding what women should do. Exactly that. Who decides who can do what? Because the minute you've done that, you filtered me from any higher order job, no? It is the classic job role mapping that it took me 7 years to find an instructor who would believe that, yes, a blind person can fly. Why not?
7 years?
7 years. It took me 7 years. Flying is damn easy. Whoever told you flying is tough has been lying.
That's Divyanshu saying.
Flying is super easy. I promise you 2 things will happen. You will take off and you will land.
How you land is a question. But how long was your flight, Divyanshu?
So my first solo flight was about 1.5 minutes.
Acha, okay. Oh, you done multi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I used to ask 3 instructors every single day. Every single day. Literally, probably there is no instructor left.
You have a good just dial data of instructors in this country now.
All over. And they would say the same thing. But you're blind. How can you fly? No. You should not. We'll give you a joyride. I'm not here for a joyride.
Yeah.
Until I met Avi Malik from Temple Pilots, who said, if you can dream about it, if you can think about it, it's already happened.
Wow.
Why not? And he said, let's see what we see now.
How many attempts you made before you like went solo altogether?
You'll not believe. You'll not believe me when I tell you.
Batao.
5 days.
Just 5 days?
That's all it takes. I'm telling you, it's easy.
Wow.
5th day. That's how easy it is. And that's what a beautiful team I have. Whom I can trust and who trusts me, and nobody takes a second call or second guess. And I'm strapped in at 7 places. So, and gliders have immense power and no second chances because there's no engine for thrust. So once you're locked into land, you're locked into land. But you trust yourself, you trust the team. And the most beautiful thing is, while I have all the glory and the best seat in the house, they're just happy to see the dream come true. They're just happy that we have one common goal and one common objective. They step up when they need to. They step back when the job is done. And when I land safe, they pack up and they go home. No names, no photographs, no credits, nothing. You don't know them. To me, that's the world I dream of. Those are the organizations I dream of building. Where we just one common dream, one shared dream, one common purpose. And we can do magic.
Did you cry when you touched down once you when you finish your first flight?
They're just happy tears, and I was happy, and everybody was happy, and interestingly, there were other pilots in the sky who didn't know I was blind.
Huh?
Yeah.
बच गए.
So when I landed, they didn't know what the big hullabaloo was all about.
ऐसा क्या कर दिया आदमी
हाँ,
ने?
ये इतना क्यों
खुश हो रहा है.
हाँ, ये सब इतना क्यों उछल कूद रहे हैं? And then they're like, wait, Jesus, effing Christ, he's blind.
Next time, please tell us if he's
Next
around.
time, everybody standing down. We will clear the air for him.
Wow.
But it's a spiritual experience.
Do you fly even now? Have you?
Logistically, it becomes difficult now, and my life now has become all about logistics, because after that is when I started Adventures Beyond Barriers. Because what I realized was, this is a great way to unite people with and without disability. This is a great way to shatter stereotypes. This is a great way to empower and enable people with disability. And my flying instructor said to me, why do people climb Everest? Or why do people summit mountains? Or why do people do this? And the answer is simple. We summit mountains not only because they exist. Of course, we climb them because they exist. But we also climb them so that we can enable others to. And that one line completely changed my life after that. And last 10 years has been all about that through ABBF. Yeah. All about that, just been that. That how can we enable others to?
So what all you do under ABBF?
So we do not just inclusive sports and all of these curated from climbing Kilimanjaro to Everest and Everest Base Camp and a lot of other peaks to Sahyadris to one-day hikes. We do tandem cycling. We're the pioneers of tandem cycling in the country. We brought tandem cycling to this country. So we do a lot of cycling, weekend rides. We do a lot of long-distance endurance rides. Some of our endurance rides are like Pune to Goa, 650 kilometers under 27 hours non-stop.
Wow.
We do Manali to Khardungla, which is the highest motorable road. We've done that about 10 times now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I saw the video. That's the one you play in the events, you know? The Manali to Khardungla.
Correct. Yeah. So we've done that 10 times. We've done scuba diving for people with quadriplegic or paraplegic, people in wheelchairs. We've done rock climbing, jumaring for people in wheelchairs and others. We're building an accessible campsite near Pune for people with disability to come and experience outdoors independently, to just camp out on the stars or experience nature in outdoors. Um, we also started providing prosthetics and orthotics to children and young adults with skeletal deformities.
Albert,
So we
आवाज आ
started
रहा
that
था
in
चाय
Jan of
चाय
this
का आवाज
year,
आ
and
रहा था.
800 kids so far. Um, we also now provide scholarships, a whole bunch of things, man. And a
That's
whole
a
bunch
long
more,
list.
and a whole bunch more, because
Wow.
this is so much to be done, and it's rewarding, and it's hard work, but it's rewarding, and we meet some of the most amazing people, kind people, um, on this journey, and it's amazing to witness change and transformation, to be there firsthand, to witness this change and transformation, when and to see people thrive and do well, um, and and that's all you can leave behind, right? What can you leave behind? This is the legacy you leave behind. And I don't want a building and all those things. I don't even care about an institution.
Yeah.
In fact, our core value, our core purpose is so that we fail one day. We're set up to fail. Because unless we don't work such that one day we'll become redundant, right? We're not really solving the problem. There is no incentive to solve the problem. Because if your intent is to build an institute and make it big and blah blah blah, then where is the incentive to solve the problem? Because then what happens if the problem gets solved? So you perpetuate the problem.
Yeah.
And my thing is, no, 10 years later, if I'm not needed, then we have succeeded.
Yeah.
And I'll solve some other problem then. Or head off into the mountains, do whatever. I'm going to live to be 150 easily. So there are lots of things to solve.
Yeah. Amazing. And Divyanshu, what would be your message to people struggling emotionally, specifically emotionally, around disability? And I'm sure you must be reached out by parents or people dealing with disabilities quite often. What is your message to them?
The first thing is to acknowledge that it's not easy. Because there are two kinds of grief, Nishant. One is finite grief. When you lose a loved one, you lose a job, or these are finite, right? You have a grieving period. You go through the grieving bereavement process, and one day you can look at it neutrally, right? You forget about it. You think about your loved one in a fond manner, but it's all right. But when you get a disability, it's infinite grief, because you deal with it every single day.
I never thought of it this way.
So even when it's been 25 years, and even if I have accepted it entirely, right? I'm proud of it. I wouldn't trade it at all. There are moments where there are frustrations. There are moments where it creeps up on you in different ways at different times, and one has to deal with it. And that is the nature of the challenge. It's just about minimizing that time. Like, if it was 360 days before, now maybe it's 36 seconds now. So the first thing is to acknowledge that. The second thing is to bring that time down, bring your acceptance of your disability, accept it entirely as your own. Own it. The more you fight it, it's going to remain. It's going to persist. So why spend energy trying to fight it? Make it your own and accept it. And as I'm saying this, I know it's a journey. It's a journey for each one, and some may do it in 2 years and some may take 4 years. But be on that journey. Do things which will help you towards that acceptance. Build a support system. And that support system really is a huge enabler. So have a support system around you. Friends and family and all kinds of support systems. And now you have online communities and there's so many communities around you. Build that. And I don't know. Learn to laugh at it. Because David, now you got it. Learn to laugh.
अब तो हो गया.
And use humor and it's just what it is. Like for me, it's just looking at it from different perspectives, right? That I now feel sorry for you because you have to see shit. I don't have to. I can imagine you to be the most beautiful human being, the most gorgeous, hot human being alive. And that makes me feel very nice, right?
Yeah.
So I can imagine you the way I want to.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yes.
So that's amazing. There is and that to me is very liberating, and I wouldn't want to trade, even if tomorrow there is a surgery possible and I could see. I wouldn't want that surgery, because and a lot of people say why not, and the only thing to them that I ask is, what is it that I cannot do as a blind person that I'll be able to do as a sighted person? So if you tell me something that, hey, if you got your sight back, this is what you'll be able to do, I'll go get it. But I haven't found anything. There's not one thing that I found that I will be able to do that I cannot do right now as a blind person.
Actually, part of our conversation tells me, if leave aside the convenience side of it, I think because we are able to see, we judge more than what we should.
Yeah.
And we get disappointed more than we should be.
I agree.
So, in that sense, I'm very jealous of you.
I agree. Mea culpa. I've judged all my life when I could see. Damn it. If a pretty girl asked me for a favor and I knew she was taking my case, I mean, she was just like, I would bend over backwards and do that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, right? You have so much of a wider scope to date now, correct? Rather than, because others would be filtering it out.
But I see beauty differently now.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to different things. And please, not that I'm not shallow. If that's what we're talking about, no, I've not reached that sainthood or anything. Very shallow.
Wow. So when did you study coding?
So immediately after rehab, I went to other training schools. There were lots of them mushrooming around the country.
Yeah.
And they all said the same thing. You can't see, you can't learn. So what choice do I have? They were either accept that they're right, or ask myself, what do I have? And what I had was still a little head over my shoulders, a little brain on my shoulders. I could teach myself, I could learn. And everybody around me was sighted. So that's fantastic, right? Just get my friends to read the damn screen.
So that time you got friends to read?
Yes.
Because that's not the time when you had this text to voice.
This was pre-screen reader days.
Oh my God.
So I just said, you read the damn screen, I'll learn on my own.
So they also learned coding just by reading the code for you.
I don't know what they learned, but I lost quite a few for sure. That was the only downside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up learning computers and got my first break with data pro information technologies and moved on to um, uh, working in man machine interfaces and the precursor to now what is everybody's using chat gpt,
Yeah.
but there's a precursor to that called machine learning. So how do you
Mm.
get machines to think like humans
Humans.
do? How do you get them to reason? How do you
Yeah.
get them to learn without the kind of heavy training data sets that AI today is built on, right?
Yeah.
Today's AI is built on vast amounts of data and
Data.
vast amounts of power. It's a power guzzler.
Yeah.
It takes massive compute power.
Mm.
We didn't have compute power.
Mm.
So if you don't have compute power and you don't have the kind of training data sets, um, but you want that chip to learn on its own, then you've got to understand how to make it learn.
Mm.
And that's machine learning and got into that and assistive technology. But largely machine learning is what got me phenomenally interested in the human brain.
Okay.
Because while we're programming the machine to do what the human brain does, you start reading about the human brain
Mm.
and and experienced what it means to fall in love for the first time.
Wow.
And head over heels fall in love. And I was awestruck that what we take for granted and what we take, the simplest of acts that we take for granted are phenomenally complex. To tell you the truth, we don't know, or we just know as much about the human brain as much as we know about the universe, which is barely anything. We don't know much. And for me, I was so amazed and awestruck. I asked myself one single question which changed my trajectory of my life. And the simple question was, instead of programming these machines, what if we could reprogram the human brain itself? What if we could rewire it to do stuff it's not meant to do, evolutionary wise? What if we can get your eyes to hear? And what if we can get your ears to see? And what if you can hear through your skin?
Mm.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
Yeah.
And the best part why I came up with this is because I failed in kindergarten and I didn't know there were only 5 senses. So for me, I wasn't limited by that belief that there are only 5 senses, right?
Mm.
I said to myself, why can't these be at senses too?
Mm.
And what if we can rewire the brain? And I thought that should be fairly easy. I kind of the difficult part is to quit a career when you're extremely successful.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, because everybody's like, what? Now you want to go back to college? But didn't you quit college? And now you want to go back to college and you want to quit this successful IT thing that you have and all of that?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because this is so fascinating. I'm in love.
Mm.
You do irrational things when you're in love. It was a very torrid affair. And then I thought this would be easy. I go to college and get my admission, give my entrance and all of that. And I did that. And then I go to college and they say, no, but we can't give you admission. I'm like, hey. They're like, yeah.
ये क्या है?
Yeah. I'm like, ये क्या है? तो वो बोलते हैं कि नहीं ये ब्लाइंड लोगों के लिए ये कोर्स नहीं है.
अच्छा,
हाँ.
ये तो श्रीकांत बोला हो गया तो आपके साथ.
So I said, Achha, and I went to a very reputed college, which is 100 years old. So I said, you mean to say 100 years ago somebody made this rule?
Mm.
So 100 years from now, there shall come a man, a blind man, who shall ask for this course. Deny him. Nonsense. I said, दिखाओ, rule किधर है दिखाओ. है तो नहीं कुछ rule. But they're like, no, science, experiments, apparatus, hospital setting, clinical setting, human brain, blah, blah, blah. I said, all that is good. All that is fantastic. If I fail, that's on me, right? Your responsibility is to teach. So why don't you do your part and I'll take care of my part. If some patient denies getting treated by me, that's on me. But of course, I went back home and I'm thinking to myself, what can I do now?
And you had quit your job.
I mean, I wanted the admission, right? So it was all process. And then I looked, I'm like, great, I have an internet connection. Very few people have it now. Printer and a computer, which very few people have. I'm like, what can we do with these things? Excellent. Go online. I looked up legal sounding stuff, printed it out on legal paper with a big bold heading. Notice denial of constitutional rights, right to education.
Wow.
I just copy pasted random legal sounding stuff and sent it, and I got my admission the next day.
Wow.
It was amazing. Nobody reads legal sounding stuff unless you're a lawyer or a corporate lawyer.
Yeah.
But I actually got my admission. Because all they read was that one big bold thing, notice denial of constitutional rights. I'm like, wow, that was easy. And then of course, higher ed became much harder. Because now I had my marks and everything behind me. But here are half the professors saying he should not be here, he should not be doing this course because he's blind and blind people should not do this course. And the other half saying, hey, he's here on merit. It's our job to teach him, so we can't ask him to leave.
Yeah.
And the half that didn't want me there made it very clear on my face. They were like, you should quit. I'm like, you should try. They're like, you will not be a good therapist. I'm like, yeah, probably, but neither are you. You're just a great theorist. You're academicians, you're great theorists. You're not therapists either. They would give me a D and they'll be like, this is what you can get. And I'm like, well, at least I'm not failing. Because I'm like, if you fail me, the trick is I can give a re-evaluation to somebody else. So the best you can give me is a D, right? That's okay. My other subjects I can get an A and O plus. So it averages out to B, which is not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
I've seen worse. I've seen way too many Fs.
Right from the kindergarten.
Yeah, I'm like, क्या ही तुम क्या ही fail करोगे? तो हम तो अरे even in college I failed. Once I failed because my peon wrote my paper.
ये कैसे हुआ?
अरे वो अलग ही कहानी है. तो एक बार मैं फेल हुआ क्योंकि अरे क्या सब दोस्त अच्छे नेक्स्ट क्लास में रह जाते. So anyways, so this is what they would do. They would tell my friends in my class not to help me, or they would draw a scatter on the board and they'll be like, what's the solution? I'm like, give me the scatter, I'll give you the solution. They're like, get out of class. I'm like, fantastic. I get to hear the same thing, but I have greater choice outside. It's actually better outside. So, interestingly, here's the funny bit. I not only pass and get through my university and all of that, but I'm also the first to get placed.
Yeah?
And 13 years later, they still have it on the university website.
Wow.
I'm like, it's time you pull that down now. And not a single patient of mine ever denied me. Not one person ever said, I'm uncomfortable having you examine me, or worked in clinical settings, I worked in hospital settings. Not one patient. In fact, they loved the fact that I couldn't see because they could tell me all kinds of shit. And I'm like, you're not supposed, I don't want to know. Like, stop. They're like, but you won't recognize us anyway. Now we can tell you everything. So again, I have no clue. Okay. I have no answers to that one. But here's what happened. I landed T3.
T3, this is in Delhi.
T3 terminal.
Okay.
My colleague was supposed to also meet me at Delhi. He was flying in from Bangalore. I was flying in from Pune. I land at T3 and I call him. He's like, I'm at the waiting area near the belt. I'm like,
Okay.
wonderful. I'm just getting there. I'll see you near the belt. I go get my bags near the belt and I'm like, hey, dude, where are you? And he's like, I'm right here at the belt. I'm like, no, can't you see me? Because I can't see you. He's like, no. This back and forth happens and then we realize that he's at T1.
Oh, okay. This happens in Delhi.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, don't worry. I'll get a cab. We have to go in that direction. So I'm going to get a cab and I'll come pick you up at T1. I go outside. I don't get an Uber. So I go for that prepaid cab.
Okay.
And you pay, you get a ticket. And typically, and I got in the car. And as soon as I got in the car, I'm like, bhaiya koi aur hai kya gaadi mein? I'm like,
So you're already in the car now?
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I just got
Inside.
into the car.
Into the car.
The driver got in the car, and I'm like, is there somebody else in the car? I'm sitting in the front seat. No, is there somebody else in the car? Because I'm not expecting somebody else to be in the car.
Yeah.
This is a prepaid car that's supposed to be just for me. So if there's a third person in the car, that's not allowed.
And you're sitting behind.
I'm sitting in front.
Achha,
They
you're
made me
sitting
sit in front.
Okay.
Which is also kind of somewhere unconsciously, I'm like, why did they put me in the front seat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bhaiya koi hai kya? He's like, nahi, koi nahi. And I was like, okay, fine. And then we get on towards T1. About 3-4 minutes or 5 minutes into it, I'm like, bhaiya koi hai kya gaadi mein? He's like, nahi bhaiya, koi nahi hai gaadi mein, hum hi hai. I'm like, okay. And then I call my friend and I'm talking to my friend who's waiting at T1 and I'm like, dude, this bugger tells me there's nobody in the car, but I'm sensing somebody in the car. I for sure feel, and I even had asked, is there somebody else in the car? And all of that. All the things that blind people do. Koi hai. And he's like, and I'm telling him that I really think somebody's in the car. Now he's freaking out there. And while I'm talking to him on the phone, I just turn around and do BAH! And the guy behind goes, and I'm like, and I lose my shit. I totally lose my shit. And I'm like, dude, there's somebody else in the car. What nonsense are you telling me? And of course, this happens in Hindi and all of that. And many explicits fly. Now my friend is listening to all of these explicits flying. And he's freaking out, thinking, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. There is another guy, these two guys in the car. This bugger is giving him all kinds of explicits. This is Delhi. He's gonna get like... So he's like, stop it. Don't, just cool out. Just come here. Just come. Like, I'm like, yeah, I am. I am coming. But there's somebody else. And this bugger still doesn't talk. Now my friend goes to the cop. And says that this has happened. The cop says, अच्छा, उनको ये कहाँ पे बैठे? T3 पे बैठे. अच्छा, तो उनको बोलो T3 जाए. He's like, really? This is a crime in motion. This is like crime in motion. Now he loses his top even more. He's like, where do I? And he thinks I'm going to get butchered somewhere on the side of the road. So then he goes to the cop station. And the inspector says, Acha, if they don't come in 10 minutes, please let me know. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm on the phone with him. And so long story short, I get to the cop station. I mean, I get to the airport. We take him to...
So you reach T1.
T1.
Acha.
Because now he knows that I know.
That
And he also knows that there is somebody else there.
Are you in touch with someone?
In touch with somebody. That all of this is being transmitted to the cops. Things like that. So now he is shitting his pants. And as soon as we reach there, this bugger in the back seat quietly gets off and runs off in the commotion.
Acha.
And then the driver says, I'm sorry. And the cops...
He acknowledged. In front of cops, he acknowledged.
Yeah. The cops get tough on him. No, the cops get really tough on him. And you know how Delhi cops are. And then the driver's now fearing some action. So he's like, nahi, main haath jodta hu, maaf kar do. ये वो ऐसा नहीं होगा. I'm like, let him go, man, forget it. But how I figured, I don't know. I just felt it's intuitive. It just is. You and of course a lot of people might say, there you go, blind people have sixth sense. That is true. I have a sixth sense. It's called nonsense. So no, none of that. It's just something that you pick up. It's intuitive. We don't listen to our intuition. We don't listen. What they say, right? The gut. We don't listen to our gut carefully. We don't listen to what signs. We don't pay attention. We brush them off, or we're just not aware. We're so consumed in other things and distractions that we don't pick up on these things.
Yeah. So, Divyanshu, I have been privileged to make friends with certain disabilities right from my childhood days. Like one of my best friend, who's no more, suffered from polio.
Right.
Okay, but he has been one of the most fearless man and fearless friend, and so much so he motivated me. He wanted to be a boxer,
Right.
and he's the one who really encouraged me to do good in powerlifting, bodybuilding,
Right.
and that kind of sports. And there are certain other friends that I can talk about. There is something very interestingly similar, and maybe because of these good friends of mine, I have certain comfort, and I get candid with you, talking to you. I find them very fearless, very irreverent. Is it because they think the worst has happened? Ab kya hoga dekhi jayegi. It's fun. It's fun. It's just so fun and so pure, honest, real. Yeah, being with them, talking to them. Koi bakwas nahi hai. It's not much guarded. I just find those moments, those conversations so pure and precious. But what's there behind you? What's your take on this?
I don't know, man.
अब आप नहीं बता तो कौन बताएगा? Guess तो आप ही हो.
ऐसा थोड़ी ना सब आंसर मेरे पास है. But two things that come to mind, immediately that jumped at me. One was when you introduced me, right? You talked about the comfort that you have with me.
Yeah.
And now when you share this with me, it's not me. It's the fact that you've grown up with people with disability, which is why you're not awkward, and why that comfort, and why you can be the way you are with me. It's because for you, it's no big deal. It's not me being in your life so much as your childhood friends. Because that's what wired you to see it as a big deal, man. He's got polio, so big deal.
Yeah.
And so that is what one thing that jumped at me. And the second thing is this friend of yours who's no more. If he was here today, would he say he was suffering?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I can tell you literal examples why he would have not said this. His wrist resembled so much of a wrist of Sunny Deol. Okay, and if there is a fight amongst the boys, and if he lifted his hand, I'm telling you, there was fear around. And I felt powerful.
Right.
And he was so intimidating to others. So he had overcome this feeling so much early in his life that I learned a lot of actually, rewiring my own sense of fear and confidence. Thanks to my friend.
So so he wouldn't say that he was suffering at all. He was thriving.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about how we perceive quote unquote limitations or quote unquote differences. What we perceive as weakness. These are all our conditioned beliefs. These are all our notions of normality. And And again, this thing about fear, right? When we do all of these things, a lot of people have asked me this, that you are into extreme adventure sport and you do stuff where it actually comes with a disclaimer: do not try this at home,
Yeah.
right? We push the limits. We do these things where we know, somewhere we know that if we push, if something goes wrong, there's a very high chance we may not come back. And we're ready to go, and we have no baggage, and we do deal with mortality in that sense, in accepting it, and but we do this because we love to see what is over the edge. That is what drives us. But what a lot of people ask is, oh, you must be so fearless, and how do you not get scared and fear? That's not true. We of course have fear. We just learn to manage it well. It is fear that helps us train better. It's fear that helps us plan better. It's fear that makes us check and recheck and double check our equipment. It is fear that makes us look at safety protocols. It's fear that makes us look at evacuation. It is fear that makes us speak about everything to the team and have a good team. It's what makes us cautious. It's just that it doesn't overwhelm us. It doesn't turn into panic. So for example, if for example I'm 10,000 feet in the air and my glider is stalled, right? Now we know if we don't come out of that stall, we're going to crash we're going to be like a watermelon. But between 10,000 and the ground is 10,000 feet, right? There are a lot of choices in there to be made. That's a lot of time. But if panic overwhelms us, then the part of the brain that makes these choices, that shuts down. And your limbic system or your emotional centers completely hijack your brain. So they're not able to make those choices. And you can apply this to everyday life. Everyday life. The minute your emotions take over, you're unable to make choices. But the minute you are able to manage your emotions, you have access to choices in the exact same situation. That's because now your neocortex, which makes decisions, is now active. And that is what it is. It's about managing our emotions. It's really about emotional management. Whether you apply it extreme situations where there's actual life and death at play, or everyday situations, can be road rage, it can be conflicts between relationships, and or anger, or sadness and anxiety. You can apply it to anything. So that's what outdoors teaches us. That's what that's the fundamental difference. That's all. Not that we don't. We're just able to hang in there 5 minutes longer. That's it.
Divyanshu, both of us have, we deal with corporates. And before I started Engage for More, I was with the bank, and we had certain initiative which was around, blindness. And I saw a lot of these simulation exercises wherein we made people to feel what a blind person feels like. What is your take on those simulation exercises which are aimed towards building possibly empathy or identifying with it?
It's counterintuitive. It's we tend to think of simulations as trying to build empathy, right? When I blindfold you and make you do stuff like walk around and tie your shoelaces, or put paste on the, or walk steps up, or do things, right? Everyday stuff. What happens is, within the first 5-10 minutes, what are the emotions you experience? You feel frustrated, you feel helpless, you feel
That's largely the case. Yeah.
you
Correct.
feel like sad, you feel terrible, you want to rip the blindfold off,
Yeah.
hence, and after those 10 minutes, you rip off those blindfolds and say, holy moly, this was so hard. This is so terrible. And if it was so terrible, now you project those feelings onto blind people. Saying, if it was so terrible for me, must be so difficult to live like this for the rest of your life. You forget that was my first 10 minutes.
After that, I was.
It's not my 25 years.
You're making me reflect on this so much more than I ever did.
And that is the projection that people make. Yeah, first 10 minutes, even I wanted to not be blind.
Yeah.
So it's counterproductive. It's really counterproductive. It does not help in building empathy. It, in fact, makes you more sympathy and pity, and those emotions come up. What is productive then? What can help? Is just do things alongside people who are blind or people with disability. You don't have to go blind, but you can go climb a mountain with me, or you can climb a flight of steps with me, or you can see how I use a computer, or go about my daily life. You can be a friend, and you will see that to just do things different. No big deal.
Yeah.
And my friends don't treat me any different. They believe I'm extremely stubborn, and if I don't listen, they just move my furniture.
Great. Divyanshu, any question you would like to ask me?
Didn't think of that. What's your purpose in doing this? What do you get out of this conversation? Why do you spend so much of your time, energy, effort? What do you get out of this?
Through Good Gobar?
Through these conversations, what do you get?
Okay, thanks for asking this. See, Divyanshu, while I'm very self-motivated, very driven, very competitive, and blessed with very good vibes all throughout my lives, but there are difficult times, and I come from a very humble background, whether I have seen my father struggling due to some false cases that he had to fight for 17 years, other situations, or very recently when I was almost bankrupt for good 5-6 years. What I've seen is attitude really helped to sail through it without feeling the pain as much, otherwise the situation could have really made you feel. And one of the things that I have been blessed with is the kind of conversations that I could strike with people whom I was very close with. So conversations have impact, and they have amazing impact, so much beyond that we can think of. So often just a word, just an anecdote, just one casual remark can really make you feel so comfortable, so motivated, so easy about the shit that you're dealing with. As we have reclaimed our glory, as we have shown the resurgence of Engage for More, I felt that I should pay back. I should give it back to the society. I have this privilege to having had these conversations. So, I get to listen to those speeches. I do backstage conversations. And most interesting are those conversations that you do after the speaker has actually, like you've seen, correct? How we crack those conversations. And these short trips from the venue to the airport, and it's been hundreds of such sessions, correct? So the idea came, why should I just hold it to myself? Why should I? It'll be very unfair, very, very unfair. So it's a passion project, Divyanshu.
Right.
As you see, there is no brand, and there is no other evident hope of making money immediately. It's mine and Team Engage for More's humble effort to take those stories, those conversations, which we believe can really help people. We don't know to who all, in how many ways, but we firmly believe it will. And hence we are trying to make these easy, joyful, timeless, heartfelt conversations that are built on fundamentals, spirits that ideally should be useful for times ahead forever. Okay, so yeah, that's why we're doing
Your
Good
way of-
Gobar, and I'm a hardcore Desi Dehati. I come from Haryana, so I worked in MNC and all of it, so I can use some English, but I'm more comfortable in Hindi. So, and hence the name is Good Gobar.
Yeah.
So we'll celebrate the good
Yeah.
that comes our way,
Good
and we
shit.
should laugh out the shit, man. you
Yeah,
know.
good
And
shit.
when you smile, you gain a lot of strength. So hence the name, and it would continue to
beautiful
be
name,
as Good
yeah.
Gobar Show. So that's what our humble effort is. Yeah, so I'm very comfortable, and thanks to you, Divyanshu, you have been so candid, so pure, so honest, so prompt, and so deep in whenever any conversations, whether it's us or anywhere in corporates. Whenever we've done events together, I have always seen people giving you standing ovation, people in tears, people realizing the power of your story. And as I see, it's story in the making, and most importantly, you're paying it forward. You're making so many other individuals feel good about them and not gobar about them.
Well,
And that's a
for
huge,
us,
huge thing, Divyanshu.
For us, it's the simple thing. If not now, when?
Yeah.
If
yeah,
not me, who?
yeah.
And that's it. That's the one thing that keeps us going. That if not me, who?